evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Chloe Feng. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. Financial Secretary says market force essential in funding Northern Metropolis and other infrastructure projects. Sports Minister Kevin Yeung greets Hong Kong delegation returning from the Asian Para Games. And South Africa clinched a historic fourth Rugby World Cup after outlasting New Zealand in the thrilling final. The government will make use of market power to fund mega projects, such as the Northern Metropolis development, according to the Financial Secretary. Paul Chan stressed the need to conserve ammunition after hinting that third-quarter economic growth will be slower than expected.
2 years after the government announced the creation of the Northern Metropolis, an action agenda will be published tomorrow. It is expected to split the mega development into 4 zones: a high-end professional services and logistics hub, an information and technology zone, a commerce and industry area near border crossings, as well as a recreation, tourism and conservation circle. But the project plus the reclamation of Lantau Island won't come cheap. In response, Chief Executive John Lee announced in his latest policy address the establishment of 2 bodies to attract private funding for mega infrastructure projects. Financial Secretary Paul Chan, who will lead one of those committees, revealed that each Northern Metropolis development area will have its tailor-made financing plan.
我哋就算自己個荷包夠錢做咧，我哋都唔會全部揞自己荷包。唔好使晒佢。
Even if the government coffers can cover the project costs, we have to conserve ammunition for future uncertainties, Chen said, referring to the city's fiscal reserves. Even after a record deficit last year, the government still held $835 billion of reserves in March. But that figure fell below $700 billion by the end of August, equivalent to 1 year of government expenditure. He insisted many companies and fund managers have expressed interest in the projects, while retail investors also wished to participate in exchange for steady, low-risk returns. The need to save for a rainy day became more apparent after Chan admitted that third-quarter economic growth would be slower than expected. The latest economic figures, which will be released on Tuesday, were affected by external and geopolitical factors, he explained. Hong Kong is already experiencing stunted growth, with the GDP improving by only 1.5% between April and June, compared to 2.7% in the first quarter.
Local economists have expressed doubt whether the measures announced in the latest policy address can revive the property market. These include cutting stamp duties for foreign buyers and reducing the period in which homeowners can resell their flats after buying them without paying additional taxes.
I think it's more likely that transactions will probably increase. Whether this will actually fuel another round of home prices increase, I think I would be more hesitant in saying so, because definitely stamp duty is one of the costs that people need to consider when buying home, but there's also other factors affecting the home prices as well. For example, we have the looming new supply coming up, interest rate is still rather high, and the economic uncertainties
expects home prices to slide further in the short term. Financial Chief Paul Chan hinted the government will not continuously intervene, saying home prices should be decided by the market itself, as long as they did not threaten the city's stability. He said cheaper flats could be good news for newlyweds looking to become homeowners, as well as parents who wish to move into bigger units. Home prices has declined by 17% since peaking in September 2021, although the city remains the most unaffordable market in the world. You can watch the full interview on All About Money at 8:30 p.m. tonight. Tourism Minister Kevin Yeung has pledged to refresh the tourism industry blueprint after noticing a shift in the behavior of visitors. The Culture, Sports and Tourism Secretary also vowed to support the film and sports sectors with more funding. Janice Yu reports.
More and more Hong Kongers are choosing to spend their holiday across the border in recent months, with the number outstripping that of inbound visitors. That has led to questions of whether the SAR has lost its attractiveness as a tourism hub. But Tourism Minister Kevin Yeung said the phenomenon is nothing new. He pointed out that inbound tourism is recovering steadily, with the number of visitors in August returning to 70% of pre-COVID levels. But Yeung admitted more mainland visitors are ditching shopping for in-depth experiences. He pledged to refresh an industry development blueprint published in 2017, saying updates could be announced next year. The policy address last week also promised an action plan on the development of the cruise tourism sector. Yeung revealed that apart from promoting Hong Kong as a cruise hub, the government will also review the cruise terminal's future development and make it more attractive to visitors. Also in the policy address was a $200 million film financing scheme for mainland market. Authorities said together with another $500 million from private investors, the initiative will inject $700 million into the industry.
Mainland China is actually a very important market for our films. The size of the population is many times of the population of Hong Kong. While many Hong Kong films can now go into the mainland market and also are well received.
Living up to his name as Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism, Yeung then made his way to the airport to greet Hong Kong athletes returning from the Asian Para Games. The delegation won a total of 47 medals in Hangzhou, including 8 gold and 24 silver. Yeung pointed out on social media that government expenditure on disabled athletes stood at $130 million this year, an 80% jump from 5 years ago. Janice Yu, HKIBC.
Turning overseas, more than 7,700 Palestinians have now been killed by Israeli airstrikes, which continued overnight in Gaza. Israel now says its war against Hamas has entered a new phase, signaling the start of the long-anticipated ground offensive. Rugby World reports.
In a televised address, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced that the next phase of the military operation against Hamas has begun. The war inside Gaza Strip will be long and difficult, and we are ready for it, he declared. Experts say Netanyahu's words were a departure from Israel's usual tactic of striking their opponents fast with overwhelming power. The chief of staff of the Israeli Defense Forces, Herzi Halevi, was seen inspecting troops who were preparing for a ground offensive near the Gaza border. Every victory comes at a price, and in order to destroy the enemy, there is no other way than to enter the territory with force, he said. Israeli airstrikes have attacked more than 450 Hamas targets across Gaza in the past 24 hours. But the United Nations warned that the ongoing humanitarian crisis would only get worse if Israel cuts off telecommunications from the enclave.
Israeli strikes on telecommunications installations and subsequent internet shutdown have effectively left Gazans with no way of knowing what is happening across Gaza and cut them off from the outside world. Ambulances and civil defense teams are no longer able to locate the injured or thousands of people estimated to be still under the rubble. And civilians are no longer able to receive updated information on where they can access humanitarian relief and where they may be in less danger. Many journalists can no longer report on the situation.
Hours after the UN's plea, Palestine Telecommunications Company said that landline, mobile, and internet services were gradually being restored. Kevin Yeung, HKIBC.
And finally, onto the weather now. Cloudy tomorrow, but also expect sunny periods. Temperatures will range between 23 and 28 degrees. Fine and dry the rest of the week. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Sunday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Chloe Feng. Thank you for watching. Good night.